Now we have created a role using the free design tools of COPRA. I'm going to use some of the classic tools, and this requires creating entities. And we can create entities automatically for every pass, should we wish, but I'm going to create them just now for the top role. So I'm going to create entities for the current pass, and I will say from here to this entity here, and for the top by ticking the box here and then OK. So you can see now we have some COPRA classic entities drawn, and these are done automatically, but I need to remove some non-forming radii. So I go to Modify Entities, delete a radius entity, and I'll delete this one here and this one here. So you can see the opposing radii are now deleted. In the next step, I need to add some relief. So now I'm going to modify the entity here by using this icon and selecting Entity 1T1 and changing the angle over here on the left hand side by 0.25 degrees. And you can see now we have some designed relief, so we're not damaging the slot here or here. I'll do the same on the opposite side for entity 1T8. The command is still active, so I can select the entity here. I want to change the angle, and this time on the right hand side, and now it'll be a minus 0.25 change, and you can see here in the graphical window the clearance, and now I can hit OK. Just going to save the pass, as I now want to add some relief to the angles here for entities 3 and 8. So first of all, I'm going to return to the Modify Entity command, pick inside the entity here, again the angle, OK, and again on the right, and this time it's important because I want to modify the adjacent entity that I tick this box. I'm not going to tick the constant width of entity because I want it to change, and my relief will be -1 degree. And you can see here in the graphical window how this will be constructed. Again, hit OK. And then we can see our 1 degree taper relief drawn here, and the radius continues along its tangent before the relief angle. Let us do this now on the right hand side by again clicking with inside the entity and changing the angle, this time on the left hand side by 1 degree. And there we can see the angle with relief. I'm now going to give some construction over here on the left hand side, so I can draw a material offset gap over here on this gate. So I'm still in my active command, but I will save the entity. Now the quick construction will be, I will explode the bottom roll, which it doesn't matter because when we redraw in COPRA it will return the polyline. I'm going to offset by 1.5 this line here and then this line here. So now I can go to Entities, and this time it will be an entity with crosshairs. I select this option for the top roll, OK, for the apparent intersection here of this line and this offset line to the apparent intersection of this line and this diagonal line, and the endpoint of my entity here I want to be the apparent intersection of here and this entity here. Right click or enter to end the command. Now you can see I have a small gap here. To modify this entity again, I can go in here, modify entity, pick the entity, and this time I want to modify the width. OK, and on the left hand side I'm going to pick a new width. I can type the length here if this box isn't ticked, but I'm going to use crosshairs, and then pick a point, the end point of this line, and the entity will change length. We can now modify the role entities using the COPRA tool Insert Radius Tangentially. So between these two entities I want a tangential radius here, and this will be 3 millimeters. Enter. And I can also add a radii here. And I can now add again a chamfer on the end here. 2 millimeters by 45 degrees. Let us repeat that now on the right hand side. Again, I'm going to explode the bottom roll, offset for 1.5, material setting gap, and then some running clearance here on this angle. Entities with crosshairs for the top roll, and it will be the apparent intersection of this roll here and this entity here. The apparent intersection again now of this diagonal line here to the horizontal here, and then I can use object tracking in AutoCAD to give me this position, select and then right click to enter the command. And now I need to modify the entity, this time this entity, the width on the right hand side this time, click OK, pick the end points here, and now I can add some radii. So again, modify, pick this entity here, again here, this time at 0.25, enter, we'll apply the radii, and now we can go back to modify, and this time we will chamfer the end point of this entity here. So you can now see we have a top roll constructed with COPRA classic entities. Now it's important to make these into one roll. I will do that by creating the roll group from the roll group menu. So now we select here, create roll group, the first entity and the final entity, and you'll see the roll is created as one. And now we save the pass to the COPRA database. Now it's important to remember if we have any gaps between our entity to look on the command line, because collection of the entities is not possible if there are gaps between them. So that's COPRA classic entities.